I'm getting into a book. It's called In the Spirit of the Earth. So I thought I'd read a little bit of it to you while I'm just starting it out so we can be on the same page. Yes. Rethinking History and Time. Okay. An inhuman company of elder things. Once we were shapeshifters. Words. I have grown suspicious of them. The irony is that I am paid handsomely to use them. And use them I do. Mostly in delivering windy lectures to hundreds of university students every year, trying to convey an understanding of the earth, of the history of the North American continent, both before and after the European arrival. I have been holding forth on the subject for years, and I am growing increasingly distrustful of what I myself have been saying, partly because I use the language of the Anglo-American. They are the words of a Western-trained, Western-oriented intellect as it seeks to wrap itself around this place, this landscape, and to convey what has transpired here in the affairs of humankind. Yet all the while I am mocked by the knowledge that my words are not the words of the people whom my European ancestors encountered on this continent. Those earlier residents pronounced the place and described the affairs of the people very differently from the way I do now, or my Maryland forebears did centuries ago. Our differing sets of words have yielded profoundly variant stories. One of them I flatter myself I know well. The other, the Aboriginal, is a problem. The people native to North America spoke, and many still speak, of the world, a place, and a way of living and being, all alien to my Western cast of mind. And yet both stories seek to describe and communicate the inherent truths of the same place and man and woman's role in all of that. Words reflect the way our minds touch the world about us. In this sense, they are a kind of sonar. They orientate us among the Navajo and divine. Femaleness is referred to in terms of certain cardinal points, south and west, specific colors, blue and yellow, times of day, daylight and twilight, and life, maturation and old age, seasons, summer and fall, and a precise, highly complex state of being. The closest word for being active. Maleness invokes a different complementary and seemingly opposed constellation of reference. Navajos define themselves through a language that makes a connection between what seems to me curiously arranged categories of perception and knowledge. So too, and other beings, animals being, plants being, inserted into this wielding landscape of potentially where the I knows how initial it is to become part of it. All of the dimensions and categories of place. Thus, do these people plug themselves into the powers of place through careful chosen words and speech? We too are forever being admonished to choose our words carefully, but what do we have to choose from? Scan the dictionary in your brain, or take down such a volume from the shelf and realize that our speech is loaded. The words resonate with a distinctive imagination of the world, an observation one might of course make for any culture, past or present. What is the fundamental imagination of my language for the earth? I ask myself, afraid of the answer, hence my anxiety with words. As soon as mankind ceases to reverberate to the world, the sickness penetrates language. Language becomes the victim of illusions produced by words. Words, says Scott Mama Day, are names. Yes, possibly. I like to think of them more as forces that mold the space around me, into which I then pour my sense of reality and my energies after the fashion of Amobia. As the engineer of space, language does more than establish the terms of discourse between people. It may also do much the same thing between people and myriads, other life forms about us. The idea is aboriginal, not mine, and I readily admit I am perplexed by it. Yet it seems to be there when I try to read between the lines, as native people so matter-of-factly tell Europeans what went wrong. With the coming of the whites and Christianity, the demons of the bush have been pushed back to the north where there is no Christianity. And the conjurers does not exist anymore with us, for there is no need of none. Nor is there a need for the drum. Another, since prayer has come into our cabins, our former customs are no longer of any service. Our dreams and our prophecies are no longer true. Prayer has spoiled everything for us. And a third, the spirits do not come to help us now. The white men have driven them away. Behold the strange incantatory powers of a speech that can silence the elemental powers around it. How can anyone who wields such words ever hope to become a part of it? There is one other instrument of commensurate power that man and woman have brought to bear on the world. Hands capable of grasping and manipulating in a most intricate, delicate fashion. Here too, as with our use of words, have become disturbed by the extravagant artifice of my kind now in rendering a relationship with the world. Looking back over past ages of human experiences, I marvel at all that has been wrought by this 10-fingered primate with 2 mirror image hands. More than that, I look for a pattern, a message, better yet, an ethic. For here, as with language, there was a beginning in a relationship, a dance between the place itself and the gifted creatures. Did the stupendous dexterity of Homo sapiens come from the arboreal handedness of an ancestral primate? The suggestion conjures up the cartoon image of some hairy ancestor gracefully swinging through the canopy. A Promethean Tarzan, perhaps. We chuckle, but a careful look at our simian relatives suggests that the idea has a considerable merit. Woo! This first chapter is long. Whatever the origin, I would say, evolutionary origin of our versatile hands, it is clear that nature designed us to be above all talkers and handlers. No other creature on earth is extensively neuronally wired to perform these two functions. I refer particularly to the sensory motor cortex, the region of the brain controlling voluntary bodily functions. Homo sapiens is unsurpassed in extent of sensory motor tissue devoted to firing the tongue, lips, larynx, and fingers, especially the thumb. Mankind is continuously a speaker and a tinker, born to chat, as one wit put it. Here, then, is a anatomical baseline for any inquiry into the nature of words and artifice. Those of us who have had children are reminded of the 2-year-old monster who talks insistently and grabs everything within reach. Such is fundamental nature of the human animal. It is no accident that youngsters have a stunning capacity to learn languages, a capability that becomes sharply, distressingly curtailed just before puberty. Witness our tortured efforts as adults to learn a second language, whereas a youngster pulls it off with with consummate ease. Not to despair, parents, your 5-year-old had a huge head start. The mind is compulsive about acquiring language. Perhaps there was some sort of aesthetic advantage in this over the long haul of evolutionary sorting. Notice I did not say survival advantage. Whether survival or aesthetics or has been the focal issue for Homo sapiens will become clearer as I proceed. Handling things is likewise a compulsion. A touching child is not naughty, but responding to an ancient, insistent, and necessary cognitive message. Children uncover, and as adults contribute to, the mystery of the world by handling it in speech and grasp. But when does grasping become manipulating? When does it become artifice, the purposeful fashioning of objects, and when do tools differ from art? Or do they ever? All are deeply interesting questions. It is even more provocative to ask what our artifice tells us about our image of the world and our vocation within it. At the start of a new semester, I asked my students to visit their local hardware store and inspect the shelves with just this in mind. And what brings me to the strange archaeology of the human mind. Our capacity to imagine things, to imagine the world about us, its creatures, its plants, its fluid and solid architecture, its heavenly vaults, and all the while to imagine ourselves somehow in a capacity within all of that which lies tantalized just beyond our skin, though not beyond our grasp. Homo has always sought to engulf all that surrounds it in word and in hand, or artificial extension of the hand. Nowhere is it written in stone, however, that we must speak of the world and manually rearrange as we do now or ever have done. Over the millennia, our ancestors made strategic choices about how they would articulate and manipulate, inspired or driven by their fertilized imagination of how the world conducted its business and where the human welfare was situated within the larger commonwealth. Today, we are the heirs of those words and that artifice, those choices and those images and some of them. And therein lies a powerful and timely story. The telling of it will help us, I believe, better understand the context and reverberations of our present speech and artifice of nature, and hence better understand our current environmental precedent, which is that we are producing changes that frighten us both in their scope and their meaning. We admit to being unnerved by what our hands and words have wrought. Yes. First chapter. So that was the first part of the an inhuman company of elder things. Once we were shapeshifters. So I'm going to leave it off there. And we'll continue some other time. Maybe tomorrow I'll read some more. Alright.